So much gas, they gon' need this cash. With the cash, gon' need that, keep that. I was hoping that I did that. All these movies trying to get into me ass back. No, you cannot hide on this track. When I can see. Hi everybody, hope you guys are doing well. I'm Mambo. If this is your first time tuning in, hello and welcome. I am the founder and facilitator of the Charm School Mentorship Program. I am the cover mother of Vision of Dawn Tour, and I am your weekly reader. Tonight we are doing another happy hour segment. Have my wine right here. So we're just going to have a little bit of a chat. So when I do these segments, we talk about, it's literally like happy hour. We talk with each other, we discuss topics, we shoot the SHIT, and we just hang out together. Give me 1 second while I share this link in a couple of spaces before we get started. Usually do this before, but forgot to do that. A little distracted today. Hope you, let's see. And part of the reason why I do this before is because I am a bit of a Luddite and technology is not my friend. So I get confused very easily. Give me 1 second. Alrighty, there we go. Hey, Onomore. Hey, Tiffany. Good to see you both here tonight. Tiffany, did I answer your question on Sunday? Because I remember you having a question. I don't remember if I addressed it or not. I am doing things a little different tonight. So the scroll below says that people have to pay $10 for a reading. But if I didn't answer your question on Sunday, I'll do yours for free. So let me know. And the reason why I'm doing it different and it's not completely free tonight is because this is happy hour. And my hope is to keep it discussion based. But if there is somebody that needs an urgent question, you can just follow the instructions below. So I named this particular live, what I call it, TikTok ban, overconsumption, and weapons of mass distraction. Oh, the Charm School link wasn't working. Okay, give me 1 second, and I'll be able to take care of that for you. So I'm gonna put the link in the text box or in the chat box. 1 second. Oh God, my phone is playing me back on the thing. Okay, there we go. So it should be there. I know we have the reading tomorrow. I wasn't sure if you had a question and if I didn't answer it. I knew there was something I was supposed to do because I remembered your name, but I just couldn't remember what the thing was I was supposed to do. Okay, now let's chat. All right. And I wanted to talk about these topics together because I really think they all link together in a bigger way in terms of what we need to be thinking about. While it's still early in the year. Oh, happy Lunar New Year to those of you who celebrate. Happy Lunar New Year. Let's start with overconsumption first because I feel like that's tied to TikTok in a really particular way. So I have a TikTok. I never use it. I had 2 posts on there and then a crazy person from a certain spiritual community. I'm trying not to say it directly. They were not tied to any spiritual community that I was ever a part of. So this was a complete stranger. But they had issues with the spiritual community that I used to be attached to. And so they found my profile and the one post I had up, and literally for days straight, every time I would delete their message, they would repost a message about how I was a part of a corrupt organization. So that put me off TikTok because that has never happened to me on any of my other social media platforms. And I had no desire to use TikTok. It wasn't something that spoke to me. And then after I put up one post and was getting serial harassed by crazy, I decided to leave it alone. If y'all know me and y'all want to know the person's name, I'll text it to you. But I'm not gonna say it here on the line because I don't want to draw it up. But my point. So because I had a TikTok account, but I never posted on it, I only used TikTok literally to watch the TikToks that people would send me, right? And I didn't like the amount of doom scrolling I did on TikTok. I'm not gonna lie. When somebody would send me a clip, I noticed that after I would watch the one clip, I would fall down a wormhole watching other identical clips, and I would waste so much time. And if you guys know, I talk about my big three all the time. I'm a Taurus sun and a Virgo moon. If it's one thing I hate, it's wasted time. So anything that I do that makes me feel disgusted with myself after, I try to avoid it. And TikTok was one of those for me, right? Just so much doom scrolling and also overconsumption. It's a lot of videos of people overeating. It's a lot of videos of people just buying like hordes and hordes of things that they don't need. Like the first maybe one or two videos of somebody buying, 18 shades of the same lipstick brand may fascinate you if you're a lipstick girly. But then after the fourth or fifth, it's like, goddamn woman, how much of this stuff do you need, right? So again, between the fact that TikTok tends to be a platform where people perform and lie a lot and will harass people that are genuine in what they do, and I didn't like that experience. When you add that with the overconsumption, just the constant buying, the hoarding that takes place on that platform, it was just too much for me. It was too much for me. I am one of the people that deleted my app not knowing that the ban was temporary. So even if I wanted TikTok again, I can't download it again because it's not available anymore, right? But the overconsumption has been a problem in our culture for a really, really long time. And I do think that, apps like TikTok, Instagram, and even what I'm on now, YouTube, make it a lot worse. But I want to talk about, as a recovering shopaholic and as somebody who has released a lot of their overspending habits, I want to talk very honestly about what tends to draw people towards overconsumption. So I will speak from my own experience. The thing I used to overconsume the most was makeup. It was skincare. It was facial products. And the reason why I overconsumed them so much was because I worked in a corporate environment. Or I know it's academia, but that shit's corporate, right? And I felt like makeup was something that helped me navigate that environment. It just did. It helped me navigate the insecurities of that environment. I was also one of the younger people that worked in my office. And so again, like a lot of women who present younger than what they are, who work in professional environments, I wore a lot of makeup to make myself look older, right? It started as something that in the beginning I didn't like. I didn't like makeup at first. Then I got attached to it. This was also during the makeup guru craze, right? So there was just a lot of big hauls, a lot of constant products coming out. So it turned into like a really odd keeping up with the Joneses thing for me, because not only was I doing it to present professionally in the workplace, there were certain women at my workplace that I low-key, the only thing we could do to hang out and survive and to connect was to talk about makeup and to share products and to compare and contrast, right? So literally I would go to happy hour with coworkers and we would go to Sephora or Ulta after. I ended up with hordes of makeup that I did not need, just because it was something for me to keep up with the Joneses, honestly. When I moved in 2020 from Oakland to Atlanta, I had to throw out literal like buckets. I had 4 buckets, those plastic containers with the tops that you get from Target. I had 4 of those full of makeup, and I had to throw majority of those away before I moved. So I didn't even get to use half the shit that I did. And that's another thing about the nature of internet overconsumption. Half the stuff that people are buying, they're not using. When you watch these influencers do these stylized, creative hauls around the holidays, they can't use that stuff repeatedly. A lot of that shit gets thrown away. Um, so in addition to it not being good for the environment, I want to talk about the emotional cost of it, right? A lot of times when people are over consuming, they're sad. People are over consuming because they are trying to fill a hole with things, right? Same way when we think about what consumption is, right? You're eating, you're taking things into the body, absorbing of things. And a lot of times it's a practice that people engage in order to fill a hole, right? So you have these big, massive hauls. People are buying all this stuff that they don't need, and they're putting up videos of it, and it's going out to other sad people, other people that don't feel complete, and they see these nice stylized things and they think, oh, okay, well, maybe if I have this, I'll be complete. Well, it won't work. And the more you buy, the more you try to buy, the more stuff to fill the hole, right? So it just ends up creating an addiction that's wasteful, which is what overconsumption is, right? Um, and I think that TikTok is really, really wasteful. It's a lot of bad advice. It's a lot of overconsumption, a lot of confusion, a lot of distraction, right? I am not the only person that deleted their TikTok app, but for those who didn't delete it and kept it, even within those 12 hours that the app was down, I saw people saying, like, I have more time now. I'm not as anxious now. Um, I found something else to do, right? And that was just 12 hours. So imagine for those of you who still have the app, who just returned back to your cycle of doom scrolling, how much time you would have on your hands if you didn't have the app again, right? Um, why am I talking about this? Wastefulness is something that we got to be mindful of this year. We have to be mindful of wastefulness, whether it's material, physical wastefulness through products, or whether it's wasteful time and energy through doom scrolling, or through gossip, or whatever distractions you engage in. Whether it's a waste of your energy, right? Making yourself busy with things so that you don't get to what you actually should be doing. I know a lot of really busy, productive procrastinators. You may be thinking, Mambo, how can you be a productive procrastinator? I'll explain to you, right? These are the people that help other folks get a lot of shit done. But when it comes to their own things, they get nothing done, right? They show up as over caring and overly serving to other people. But when it comes to them hitting their own goals, no accomplishments. So they can tell you the ways in which they've helped someone else accomplish something, but they can't tell you what they've done. And depending on how debilitated the person is, if they see the other person winning without needing them, they will then throw what all the stuff they've done for that person in their face. But it's like that person didn't ask you, right? People don't ask to be used as distractions. They don't. People don't ask to be obsessed over. They don't. They really don't. So think about the time that you waste is as this year continues to unfold. Call yourself out on those times where you see that you are overly concerned with somebody else's shit, and think about what you could have done with that time, what you could have done with that energy, what you could have done with that bandwidth, right? Dulcinea said that person must be a Virgo. Virgos do it too. Pisces do it too. Cancers are the worst. Cancers are fucking awful with that, right? There are a couple of signs that are really, really terrible about that. But the three that I think that are the worst absolutely are Pisces, Cancer, and Virgo, right? And with Virgos, it's because Virgos want to fix and refine. And sometimes they are more comfortable fixing and refining other people than they are fixing and refining themselves. Now, thankfully, I've done work to get myself out of that as a Virgo moon. And thankfully, when I think about the Virgos that are still in my life that I'm closest with, I don't know what they've done on their own journey, but they are really good about not doing that. They have really good balance. And I think a lot of it has to do with the other placements in their chart. But you're absolutely right. Dulcinea. It can be a Virgo that has a tendency to do those things. Hi, La Balin. Hi, Sandra, if you're still here. I'm just seeing you guys' names. Hey, JL. Hey, Bertal. Thank you all for joining. So yeah, this year, I think it's going to be really, 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 really important for people to think about their consumption patterns. Another reason why it's important to think about your consumption patterns is, baby, the spirit of lack, the spirit of restriction, the spirit of there's not enough room at the table for everybody to eat, which is one of the biggest lies known to mankind. All right. That spirit is going to only increase and get worse and worse under this first year of this new administration. It is only going to get worse. So, because of that, you all have to protect yourself. The spirit of lack, the way that it shows up with takers in particular, is they fall into that default setting of there's not enough, so I need all of everything. And they will not have any limits to how much of your time they take up, how much of your money they borrow, how much of your energy they suck out of you. Okay? And so that will create a situation in which the takers are always in need and the givers clock out with their own needs. So in order to protect yourself this year, be aware of your own patterns of overconsumption and be aware of the people in your life that tend to overconsume. At a more practical level, at a tangible level, outside of the energetics and the spiritual, everything's about to get expensive. Everything's about to get expensive. These tariffs that they're theorizing that are going to happen, it's about to get real expensive. You need your own money. So you can't be wrapped up in trying to save other people. You need your own energy and good health, because you can't get wrapped up in trying to help other people pay for their medical bills, right? Help people within reason to be good and to be kind and to have good karma on your favor, right? To have spiritual favor. But don't overextend yourself. Save. Those of you who do stress spending, right? Who hide your feelings behind your credit card, right? Who rather than cuss out the people that you need to cuss out, or exercise the way that you need to, or to say the things that you're holding back, those of you who will spend in order to avoid, or if it's not even about spending to avoid your feelings, if it's spending because you are wrapped up in keeping up with other people, that's something you got to really squash out and put the brakes on now while we are early in the year, because finances have to be in order. This is not a year to overconsume, to distract yourself with other people's shit. You got to really take care of yourself. You got to be mindful of your finances, okay? Protect and stay grounded. We are about to be on a wild ride. Absolutely, Bertal. This would be a great time to get out of debt. Absolutely, JL. Get out of debt. Figure out ways to get out of debt. Buy your passport. Make sure you have your passport. Keep your credit cards clear. Don't use them unless it's an emergency. And even if it's an emergency, do what you need to do to pay it back. But absolutely, JL, this is an important time to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to make sure that if something happens, God forbid, but we got to read the tea leaves. If something happens and we need to pick up and shimmy and shake and move, we want to be able to do so easily, right? And money is the most important form of transportation. Haha, right? We don't think about it that way, but it is. How you gonna buy a plane ticket if you ain't got no money? You ain't got no money to buy a passport. What are you gonna do, right? So making sure that you're treating your money with respect, that you're not wasting it, that you're not misusing it, right? To hold up a fake identity. A lot of people will do that. A lot of people will buy shit to hide who they are. A lot of people will put on the performance of having certain skill sets or having a certain career when they don't. It would better suit you to sit with self and train and be able to have those things instead of putting on the performance, right? But we have to really be mindful of how we spend right now, how we consume, what we take in. Here's another thing. We live in a capitalist society, and we live in a world where people think all attention is good attention, right? Rather than over consuming and over engaging with the things that bring you displeasure, smother them, suffocate them. What does that mean, Mambo? Stop buying shit. Attention is a form of currency. There are literal people who have made livings off of just grabbing folks' attention, right? And again, going back to that doom scrolling and that losing and wasting a lot of time on TikTok and on these social media apps, I love y'all. But some of y'all who are watching this right now, majority of the shit that you watch on TikTok, you can't stand. There are some of y'all who have probably lost a half hour of your life watching clips of Candace Owens, and you can't stand that lady, right? So doom scrolling, why are you watching things that you hate? Why are you watching conservative pundits argue back and forth? Why are you watching celebrities who don't respect women and who abuse women over and over again? You claim to hate gossip, but then you watch clips from the shade room all day long. Stop consuming things that you hate. And if you actually hate them, use the withdrawal of your attention and your dollars as a way to smother and stamp those things out. Stop pouring your money and your energy into things you claim to hate. If you hate it, you don't need it. Everything I need, I love. I love water. I love water. I love the roof over my head. I love my clothes. I love everything that I need to live, right? So if you don't need it, if you hate it, you don't need it. Extinguish it. And here's one thing I know. If you do that over a certain amount of time, it will extinguish itself. It will go away. People only do these ignorant ass woman hating podcasts and segments and all these other things because we support it. We are watching it. We're consuming it through our eyes. We're listening it. We're taking it in. And with our support, we are putting money in their pockets. So just stop, right? We really got to think about how we engage in things this year, right? There's this Aquarius energy that's bringing in a transition and a transformation. And I really beg you all to participate in it and to think about these things. Dulcinea says she's wasted hours. Girl, I have too. It wasn't TikTok, but I've wasted hours on social media, right? When I was really, I'm not about to tell on myself, and I'm not that brave, and I haven't finished my glass of wine yet, so I'm not going to tell on myself, but JL said, especially stop supporting companies that hate us. Why are you queer people eating? She didn't say you queer people. Why are queer people eating at Chick-fil-A? Why are you Black and drinking Starbucks? Those are all important questions. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I had Chick-fil-A over the weekend. I'm sorry. Don't be disappointed in me. But that's an important question. Like, why are you buying these things that don't serve you, right? How can you talk about free Palestine and still be buying McDonald's, still be buying Starbucks, still be buying from these companies? Ask yourself that. And if you find yourself doing it, really engage with the why. Like what craving, what thing you were trying to fill that needs to be filled in some other way, right? I could have easily not eaten Chick-fil-A. Could have easily not eaten it. I'm a great cook and I have healthy things in my house, right? But I was out. It was quick. It was easy. Convenience, right, is one of the things that is going to kill us, especially Americans. We are way too addicted to convenience. Way too addicted. People are out here buying pouches of pre-cooked rice that has chemicals and shit in it when it takes all of 10 minutes to boil a pot of rice. But convenience will kill us. Asking yourself, what is your laziness costing you, right? Really, really important to do. Really important to do. Again, my information is scrolling below. If you do have a question that you want me to answer for you tonight, it is a minimum $10 love donation. Sorry, I have to be strict tonight. Again, this is happy hour. And one of the things I notice is when I do happy hour or when I do the lecture series, people will still come in and ask for me to answer questions. And not only are they distracting from the purpose of the live, but y'all niggas don't leave love offerings. So if you're going to do that tonight, the minimum requirement is that you send a love offering, minimum of $10, which won't break the bank. But honestly, I'm enjoying the conversation, so I have no problem with not doing any readings tonight and just staying focused on this. Up to y'all. but I just wanted to explain why my banner below is different than what it typically says. Um, Overconsumption, and here's the thing, it can happen so easy that you don't even recognize that you're doing it, right? Some of you guys know that I used to do celebrity readings pretty regularly, and then I stopped in the late summer. And a part of the reason why I stopped was because I didn't have it on my heart to talk about Diddy one more time. I didn't have it on my heart to talk about Diddy. I didn't have it on my heart to talk about Drake being a pedophile. Like, that shit is draining. Like, I think sometimes you guys don't understand, especially those of you who don't do divination. I don't think that you understand how difficult it is because of what a person may see, feel, hear coming up. In addition to the fact that, like, yes, there are people that are assault survivors, but even if you're an assault survivor, why are you taking pleasure in listening to details around sexual assault over and over again, right? Um, it's like there was a wickedness that watching that stuff over and over again was starting to stir up in me. And I found myself being agitated. I found myself being on edge. And I didn't like that shit, right? I challenge you. So some of you guys have done my Rich Spirit Prosperity Ritual, which there's another one happening late March if you guys want to join. The description, it's not in the description today, but it will be in the description starting Sunday. A lot of you guys have participated in my Rich Spirit Prosperity Ritual, and depending on the round that you've done, one of the restrictions was that you had to abstain from gossip during the ritual for the duration of the ritual, right? And I do that because I really don't think a lot of people think about how easily they absorb negativity and things that they believe are counter to their spirit by engaging in gossip. If you find yourself getting irritated, if you find yourself being angry, if you find yourself lacking compassion for other people in a way that you feel is not in alignment with your character and it feels atypical for how you want to show up, I promise you, abstain from gossip. Again, in Rich Spirit, we just do it for the 4 days of the ritual. But in your life, give yourself a week, give yourself 14 days, give yourself 21 days, and just see how differently you feel in your body and how differently you engage in information. I promise you, if you take a week abstaining from gossip, you will find yourself backing out of conversations that don't make you comfortable. You will find yourself not going into spaces that you know are built on cattiness and gossip because your energy is going to feel so clean and you yourself are going to feel so light and you're going to move differently, right? But that's another part of overconsumption. We don't think about the ways that we consume. And yeah, the conversations you engage in is a form of consumption. I talk about this in my class on the importance of fasting, right? Those negative, nasty conversations that you just have very easily, where you say a fucked up hot take and you don't even think about it, where you expose somebody's privacy or business and you don't even consider it. You're not considering it when you do it, but I promise you it shows up in your energy. You're probably going to be more snappy with your kids than you normally are. You're probably going to feel lonelier or angrier after the conversation is over than you recognize or maybe willing to recognize, right? Try it out. But it's an important year to think about your consumption patterns. Another reason why it's important to think about consumption, and I want to talk about literal like food and drink, water consumption, things of that nature, is because a lot of people are going to be dealing with fucked up health issues this year. And that is something that is coming up really strongly. A lot of those of you who have ignored the changes that you needed to make in your health, but you haven't done it because you don't want to let go of the things that bring you satisfaction. This is going to be a year where you learn some difficult things about your physical body. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that to prepare you, right? So if you can go ahead and release the things now, you may be able to be okay. But just try to be careful. When I gossip, I feel icky, Dulcinea says. What's the difference between a rant and gossip? Sometimes can't tell the difference. It's simple. And here's my definition. Here's the one that my mama gave me. And some people agree with it, some people don't. If you wouldn't say it to the person's face, then it's gossip. It's very quick and dirty. And again, some of y'all may not like that. I've had that argument many times in the past year of my life. If it's something that I have said to you already and you've ignored, that's your bill. That's, oh, wow. There's static on my wall. Did you guys see my hair get stuck? Um, but yeah, if it's something that you have already said to the person, or that you have no fear of saying to the person to their face, and I will add something on to my mom, what my mom taught me, and it's something that I'm learning now. If it's something that you know you would not say without anger, then it's probably gossip. Again, my personal definition, right? If you know you wouldn't say it without anger, you got to check yourself. So it's that simple. If you would say it to their face, then it's not gossip. If you have no problem with taking ownership of it, then it's not gossip. But yeah, if you are saying things that you would not say to somebody's face, or that you have not already said to their face, then it is gossip. Now, here's the thing. You may say it angrier behind their back than when you say it to their face, but it's still not gossip. That's just you ranting. That's you getting your shit off because you're upset. And I have a tendency to do that. And I've had that argument with people before where they're like, well, you said this to this person. And it's like, yeah, I said it to you. But you were mad. Yes, motherfucker, I was mad. I had a right to be mad. You can't tell me I don't get to be mad. But if I've said it to you, or I will say it to you, then no, it's not gossip. Very simple. It's not gossip if I'll say it to you. Bertal said that part. Yeah, it's very simple. We want to make it difficult. We want to make it harder because we want to be justified in doing the wrong thing, right? And that is typical selfish behavior. If I feel it's justified, if I can come up with an excuse, if I can blame it on my anxiety, if I can blame it on my anger, if I can blame it on the situation, but like, no, you did that shit, so stand in it, right? Ego. And there's going to be a lot of ego death this year. Again, going back to the overconsumption. If your identity is tied to things, and in order to get through this next year unscathed, you have to let go of your things, that is a form of ego death, right? And so again, what I was talking earlier about, if you hate it, then you need to let it go. And the things that you love, make them foundational. There are things that I like. I like getting my nails done. You guys know that. I come on here and every time I get a new set, I show it to you. I don't need it, right? I don't need it. If something happened and for whatever reason I can't get them done anymore, I'm still gonna have my black ass on here reading y'all. It's not that deep. I'm still gonna go out in the world. I'm not gonna fall apart, right? But there are some people that are so deeply attached to their things and their money and what they feel that their material possessions mean in terms of status, their ability to flex over other people, their ability to hold shit over people's head, right? If that's you, then this may be a tough year for you. But if your ego is not attached to things, then you should be fine. If your ego is not attached to controlling people, then you'll be all right. But yeah, this will be a year of ego death for some people, absolutely. I have to watch what I say. My words can cut deep. Mine too. And it sucks. And I watch my words a lot. And I hold my tongue with people that I love. And I have had some instances of people thinking that my holding my tongue means that I'm weak. Those people don't have access to me any longer. 2025 is not a year of people who lack self-control and emotional maturity, because there's a difference between emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. Shout out to my Patreon. That is a class that we're going to be having in February difference between emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, and how to clock it within people, right? Um, but no, if you've displayed that you don't have the emotional maturity to hold your feelings, and your feelings become a justification for being abusive to me, you don't have access to me. It's that simple. Simple adulthood. I don't give a fuck who you tag in, what flying monkeys you have trying to guilt me, what you think you hold. Oh, no, fuck that. You can choke on a dick. Like, we don't do that in 2025. But also, watching what you say is more for you than it is for the other person. It's more for you than it is the other person. Um, I used to lack emotional maturity. I used to say whatever I wanted to. I used to think it was okay to fucking blow up and Hulk smash and be verbally abusive. And then I lost people that mattered to me. And I lost opportunities. And I lost respect from people that mattered. This is old me, more than a decade ago. And so I learned, and I moved accordingly. Some people, unfortunately, especially men, I don't know what it is, and y'all can get mad at me for saying this, but we know that the reason why nursing homes and convalescent hospitals and hospice are overrun with more men than women is because men either never learned the lesson about emotional maturity and how to control their emotions, or they learn it too late. And yeah, it's hard to find somebody who's willing to take care of you when you're in your 70s, 80s, 90s, after you spent the first 70 years of your life blowing up on people and verbally abusing people, right? And I think that's one of the problems, again, overconsumption with social media. We are so obsessed with the hot take. We think that the person that says the meanest, nastiest thing is one. And that's instant. But there are consequences that come over time from that, right? When you look up one day and the community doesn't fuck with you, or you don't have somebody who is willing to lay next to you because you're so verbally abusive that you push everybody that loves you away, then you really got to ask yourself, was getting that hot take off in that argument worth it? Was saying that sassy thing on social media worth it? A lot of y'all are learning that the hard way. Again, going back to TikTok, how many people before the TikTok ban lost their jobs because they didn't want to stop twerking on the internet? Or they thought it was cute to get on to brag about their six-figure job, but then to get on TikTok and call their workplace a plantation. If I had an employee and I was minding my own business and I looked up and they was on TikTok saying that they worked at the plantation, they would not be my employee anymore. Simply because, why the fuck would you think that I want people to think that I'm a slave master? Right? People have a right to not want to engage with people that misrepresent them. People have a right to want to be represented a certain way and to control their narrative. So no, you can't work for a company and then hop on the internet and make a twerk video and then be upset that you couldn't keep your job. No, you can't hop on the internet and call all your coworkers clowns and then be shocked that you don't have a job anymore, that you lost your contract. That's the consequences, right? Doing TikToks in uniform was a wild era. Unfortunately, baby, it hasn't stopped. Unfortunately, it has not stopped, and it's not going to stop. People just talk too damn much, all for clout. And this is why I don't trust people who are uncomfortable with silence. I do not trust people that are uncomfortable with silence. I don't talk a lot. And I know y'all think I'm lying because I talk professionally, but in my life, I don't talk much. In fact, my closest friends, the people that have known me for decades, who've really known me for decades, not who say they know me for decades, like my people back in California, it's not uncommon for me to show up to somebody's house. I will ask you to hang out with me, and I will come to your house, and I will literally just sit on your couch and read a book or watch you do your errands. Because quality time is not about talking for me. I just want to be around you, right? But I do agree, Batal, we talk too fucking much. We talk too much. We over explain. We hand over the tools for people to disrespect us, for people to try us, for people to assume a closeness or a familiarity with us. Again, another lesson I learned last year, because I had people speaking on me and my character and what I wanted for them and what I didn't want, and I didn't even know these people. But there was an assumed familiarity because I'm on the internet a lot, right? And I do a job where I talk to people a lot, right? I think we need to further investigate the ways in which parasocial relationships have made us naturally delusional, right? We make fun of people who end up going to court because they convince themselves that they're in a relationship with a celebrity. But that happens more often than you think it does. And in this day of social media obsession, it also happens with people who are not famous. I have had, and my godchildren know about this because I've talked to them about it. I've had people who have never met me, never talked to me on the phone, never booked a reading with me, call me their spiritual advisor or call me their godmother. Mind you, have never mentored under me, have never taken a class with me, nothing. But just because they tune into the lives or they ask me questions on Facebook, in their mind, that is a replacement for a relationship. But again, people who live on the internet develop these parasocial relationships and they convince themselves that they are deeper than what they are, right? Challenge yourself outside of that. If you feel that you have a deep relationship with somebody that you've never spoken to on the phone or in person, you've never been around, you got to ask yourself some questions because that's unhealthy. It's deeply unhealthy. And then when you finally get the opportunity to be in physical space with that person and you talk to them like you knew them, I will trust me, I'm not saying this to be mean. You're not going to get to know that person after that because that's alarming. It's unnerving. It's unnerving when people experience that. So be careful. Be very, very careful. Do not delude yourself with parasocial relationships. Another planet that I'm gonna mention, right? There's a lot of Neptune activity happening this year. So read your natal charts, look at where your Neptune is, and really confront the areas of your life where you have a lot of, mental or spiritual fuzziness. Because so much of what is happening is the creating of illusion and smoke and mirrors to confuse people this year. So be very, very careful. But make sure that you're not engaging in parasocial relationships. Make sure you know people before you assume their character. Because what's the saying? When you assume, you make an ass out of you. That can put you in danger. I'm not seeing any questions. People talk too damn much. I've already read that comment. Yeah. So that would be my advice. Just be mindful of all forms of overconsumption this year, right? Taking in too much gossip, listening to conversations that are unhealthy, eating foods that are not good for you, overspending. Just be careful. You don't need 25 lipsticks. You don't have 25 sets of lips. I mean, if you do, right on. I hope you find a way to monetize that because you deserve. But just be mindful. Be mindful of what you're overbuying. I promise you, whether it's your energy or whether it's your resources, that can be used in a much more productive way that heals you, progresses you, moves you forward, brings you comfort, stability, and safety, right? Some of you just don't overspend. Just be mindful of overconsumption. You don't need 8 rose-shaped ice cube trays. You don't need them. I promise you don't. And the people who have that stuff on the internet, that's their job. It is their job to make crazy hyperconsumption videos. It's not your job. you are not likely to make hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions off of doing it. If anything, you'll put yourself into debt. And again, with the tariffs that are about to be put into place, with the overinflation that's about to happen, we need our resources and we need our physical energy, right? We see what he just, that man. The orange man has disbanded or got away or done away with the Equal Rights Opportunity Act, right? Which guarantees that you can't discriminate against people based on race, religion, gender expression, etc., in employment. And so you guys are about to, we're about to get some heavy, painful awakenings about our jobs and about the fact that these jobs do not love you, right? So that's another reason why you got to save, because God forbid, as a result of what happened, you get a call and then you get laid off earlier than you expect. It'll be a good idea to have some money locked away in savings, because what's the point in having a Chanel purse if you ain't got no money to put in it? What's the point of having a Gucci wallet? You ain't got no money to put in it. So save, don't overconsume this year. I am now a minimalist. I used to tell myself I needed a dozen backups of everything. Backups, okay, so La Balin, I don't know if you were here when I first started talking, but when I was really, really heavy into my makeup addiction and overbuying, that was some shit that I would do. I would tell myself, it's okay to buy 3 lipsticks in the same color, because what if, not, I know, but what if they stop making it? At least I have backups. You don't need the backups. I was addicted to purple, mauve lip, like a dark lip. If I did wear red, it was like it was ox blood or a cranberry, that type of thing, right? So yeah, I would go and I would buy, 3 Ruby Woo lipsticks or 3 Diva lipsticks and would just have them sitting there. You know what happened? Because, and I don't know if MAC has changed their formula because I haven't bought MAC in years, but back when I was buying MAC, and some of you guys know this if you're makeup girlies, when MAC lipstick goes old, it literally molds. It gets a fuzz on it. It's fucking disgusting, okay? So yeah, my backups would get fuzzy, and I would end up having to throw them out anyway. And then the justification, the lie I would tell myself is, oh, MAC recycles, so just take them in and get a new lipstick. And then I'd get the new lipstick, and that shit would mold, right? So yeah, you don't need the backups. I had to learn that the hard way, especially when limited edition collections. Rihanna had a dark, it was so cunt. It was a dark, like a deep eggplant purple lipstick from MAC called Ho. And Ho was spelled Heaux. I bought like 4 of them. I only used 1.5. And then they molded. That ash you're talking about, the ashiness, La Balin, that's mold. That's not ash. Baby, that's mold. They don't tell you that's what's happening, but that is mold. Talk that talk and Ho. Yes, I still have a tube of Ho. And I shouldn't be using it because it's old as hell. But it was so cunt. It was so fucking good. Yeah. The fact that changed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, that's not going to fly. That's trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. Trump, with changing it to Gulf of America, that is Trump trying to make fetch happen, and it's not going to happen. So no, fucking. Yes, baby, that's mold. Look it up on YouTube. That's not ash, it's mold. That is mold. Got rid of DEI, including disability protection. My heart aches. It's about to get really bad for disabled people in this country. It's about to get really, really bad. Shout out to, what is his name? King of Reeds. King of Reeds just did a video about Wendy Williams. And I want to thank him because he has finally used the language around Wendy that people have been avoiding because of their biases, which is disability. At some point in every single one of our lives, whether long-term or temporary, we are going to be disabled, right? Whether it's when you get elderly and you need additional help, whether it's after you give birth and you can't run around the way you want to, whether it's you break your leg, you break your pinky toe. I broke my big toe when I was 8. It was the most ghetto experience on planet. But we're all going to be disabled at some point in our life. But we don't think about it that way. So then when we encounter somebody who is permanently disabled, we treat them poorly. And we think that disability rights are about the minority, but no, disability rights impact everybody, right? I'll give you an example. I worked at a disability office, and that was the worst disability discrimination I ever experienced as a disabled person, right? Because they would not give me my accommodations. They were really fucked up to me. I'm not going to talk about that aspect, but what I will say is that some of the accommodations I asked them for based on my disability, and that they told me that I cannot have, are now universal design standards that have been made the norm due to COVID, right? What happened when COVID happened? What the fuck happened when everybody went remote? Everybody went remote. People started working 4-day weeks instead of 5-day weeks, right? Even when people got back into the office, social distancing happened. So people have more privacy, more quiet in their work environments. Those all were accommodations that I asked for pre-COVID back in 2016. And I was told that my accommodations were too much. And now they are universal standard. Now it's part of universal design. But that's the problem. We don't know how to treat what we conceptualize as minority populations in this country, even when those minorities represent the majority. And like I just said, everybody in their lifetime is going to be disabled, whether it's permanent and long-term or temporary. You are going to break something. You are going to hurt. You are going to need accommodation. But because these fucking idiots that are now in office don't understand that, they're gutting these things that a lot of people are going to need. And it's really, really fucked up. This is a year where we need community more than ever. And again, because we live in an individualist society and an individual culture, we love being able to brag about being independent and not needing anybody, right? People think that they can either rely on themselves, or if they are blessed to be married or in partnership, they have this fucked up Bonnie and Clyde mentality, which I need people to stop comparing their relationship to Bonnie and Clyde. These bitches died by gunfire at 24, and they were literal rapists and murderers. Stop comparing your love life to Bonnie and Clyde. But my point is, what happens when the apocalypse hits? Because it's already hitting. You may not experience it that way, right? When the country caves in on itself, you're going to need somebody other than your husband that you call daddy. You're going to need somebody other than your wife. You're going to need somebody other than yourself. Build community. Build exit strategies. Build safety plans. People in California, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to cry on this live. I got people I love in California that were impacted by those fires in LA, in Altadena specifically. And the only reason why people were able to get out, and the only reason why people are surviving now and finding housing now and being gifted with clothing and donations now, is because they have community. So those of you who are so prideful that you don't need nobody, like, this is going to be a fucked up year for you. If you don't know how to maintain ties within community, if you don't know how to have friends, if you don't know how to call and check on people, if you don't know how to reach out to people because you need help, if you don't know how to strategize with people to develop safety plans, this year and the coming years are going to hurt you deeply. They're going to cut. So please make the adjustments now while you have the opportunity. But people buy vintage makeup online for thousands so I can resell for insane amounts. I don't know why people do that. Now, okay, so here is one thing that I do La Balin, and I haven't done it in years, and I probably will start doing it again. But I used to collect vintage lipstick holders, right? Because they, like, back in the day, if you can get the vintage ones from like the 40s and the 50s, those things are beautiful. They literally have crystals and pearls and all kind of shit on them, right? So I used to collect those, but I wouldn't use the lipstick inside because most of it was old. If there was lipstick inside, I would gut it out and clean it. And then I would take my, my Anastasia or my Urban Decay or my whatever, and then I would freeze it, pop it out, and put it into the new container. So that's what I did. I don't think I've ever bought vintage makeup. Like, that sounds crazy to me. I couldn't imagine buying somebody's blush from the 90s and wearing it now in 2025. I feel like that's a recipe um, to get breakouts and craters and shit in your skin. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I meant to watch that full King of Reeds video. It's really good. It's really good. Justin does a really good breakdown of why people can't fully conceptualize or understand Wendy's situation because they refuse to see her as disabled. And we don't like to see disabled people. There was a whole thing called the Ugly Laws that made it illegal for physically disabled people to be in public, right? Because literally our culture does not want to see disabled people. We don't want to have to look at illness. We don't want to be reminded that that's something that can happen to us. And a whole huge part of the reason why this conservatorship is happening in a way where it's like, put Wendy away in a home, don't let her work, don't look at her, is because we don't want to see disabled people, right? Wendy may have more of her faculties than what we want to acknowledge, but her feet are fucked up and her physical body is impacted by her illness. So people don't want to look at Wendy because it makes them sad. And it's not that they're sad for her genuinely. They will say that because they feel like it's the right thing to say. But no, they don't want to look at her because they don't want to be reminded of their own fragility, their own mortality. So we hide disabled people. And that's why, disability rights is so important. The right to work movement within disability rights was so important. Because there was a time, and depending on what state you are and how shiesty people are, there are places where you can't work if you're disabled because people don't want to look at you. It's assumed that you can't do certain things, which isn't true, right? But that's how we think. That's where we are. I couldn't even wear masks with my chronic allergies because it wasn't part of the uniform. Most of these jobs are a joke. These jobs are a fucking joke. They absolutely are a joke. They wouldn't, when I was working at my old job, and I won't say the campus, where they would not give me the work from home accommodation, they told me that they wouldn't allow me to work from home. First, it was they wouldn't allow it at all. Then, when I filed a complaint, they allowed me 2 days a month to work from home, which was some bullshit. I got more done on those days where I worked from home than I did when I was at the office. Because when I'm at the office, especially as one of the younger people that worked there and as a Black woman, everybody felt entitled to my time. So I was getting interrupted constantly throughout the day. People would ask me to do their extra work. It was just really, really fucked up, and people had no boundaries. But when I was at home, I was able to get all kind of shit done because I didn't have people interrupting me. So yeah, it's not even about productivity. It's about control. It's about control. And they won't say it that way. And as soon as COVID hit and people were obligated to work from home, and people saw that they actually saved money because we don't have to rent out these big, huge office buildings and shit, they kept it going. That office that told me in 2016 through 2019 that I couldn't have that accommodation is now damn near fully remote. But when it was me, Black girl that needed it for her health, no, fuck that, you're being entitled. I literally told I was being entitled. And even though I have chronic migraines, I was forced to come in and work in that big fluorescent lighting office all the time. And now working from home is their standard. But that's why disability rights amendments and laws and legislation is so important. So, Jo, you're absolutely right. This is about to be brutal. This is about to be brutal for the disabled and sick community. Somebody sent me a love offering. Tiffany, did you have a question that you wanted me to answer for you? If so, Tiffany, go ahead and put it in the comments section. Anyone else has a question, I'll take them at this time. But you do have to send a love offering via Cash App or PayPal. The information is scrolling below. Let's see. Tiffany wants to know if she's on the right path with her ancestors. I have a new deck that I'm trying to break in. I don't know if I like it yet. I'm not going to lie. I only bought it because I saw the picture of the High Priestess, and I thought it was so smart that it made me want to buy it. But this may be one of those decks that I only use for spell work, but we're going to see. So since I'm trying to connect with this deck, I'll use it to do my questions. My ancestors, angels, and masters, spiritual walk with me. Elevated ancestors. Tiffany wants to know if she is on the right spiritual path. What wisdom do her ancestors have for her at this time about the direction that she's on? What do they want her to know? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Ooh, stiff. Still stiff. Just got this, baby. You can ask in private, La Balin. Absolutely. You're my sister. So you just reach out to me via text. I think you have my number. If you don't, 404-654-3246. So that is my work number, you guys. I think I've shared it on the channel before. You can always book with me through my website, but if you don't have access, or if you, for whatever reason, if it's just quicker for you to text me, do so at 404-654-3246. But La Balin, yeah, just go ahead and text me your question, and then I'll check in with you. If I don't check in with you before the night is over, I'll check in with you early tomorrow morning, okay? They have feedback, baby. They do. And the biggest problem is that your spiritual journey is happening in isolation. And because it's happening in isolation, you don't really understand or know what you're doing. Four of Cups, you deal with a lot of confusion, a lot of disconnection, right? And it's even when you do see things or get messages, it's hard for you to know what you're looking at, right? So even when the answer is right next to you, you don't fully understand. And that is because, again, Hermit card, you are in isolation. It's hard to learn spiritual tradition in isolation, right? For example, with tarot, if you're trying to learn tarot by yourself, who the fuck are you going to practice on? you need community, right? Who's going to help you understand if your interpretation of a card is aligned or accurate if you don't have a mentor or teacher? So you need to do the things you need to do to get out of isolation. A part of the reason why you don't have one yet is because there is some sort of fear or some sort of unacknowledged something related to the moon card, which is about shadow work, right? You either feel like the money isn't, like the juice isn't worth the squeeze with the money, or you have a fear of learning in community. There's something going on that's making you hold back from it. So your spirits are asking you to really dig within and figure out what you need to do in order to give yourself community. Another thing, and this is the card that fell out while I was shuffling, and I wanted to look at the rest of the spread before I interpreted it. But with the Seven of Swords, you can engage in self-betrayal by practicing on your own. This is why I don't believe in lone witches. And I was taught not to believe in lone witches, right? You can turn dark and focus very heavily on the negative aspects of gaining spiritual power, and or put yourself in a position to be hurt by lone witching. Okay? So that's what I'll say. I'll say that your spirits would really love to see you, even if you aren't ready to join a community, at least find a spiritual practitioner that you trust, take some individual lessons from them, so that way you're not learning in isolation. They do not like the fact that you're learning a lot on your own right now. All right. Let me know if that answered your question, Tiffany. And if anyone else has any questions, I'll probably stay on for another 7 or 8 minutes. If anyone else has a question, go ahead and put it in the comments, send your love offering, and then we'll answer it. But let's go ahead and start wrapping up our conversation about the year and what we need to be mindful of with overconsumption. Don't buy things from TikTok Shop. Don't. Unless it is a small business that you can vet, that is attentive, that is walking you through how they make their things. Because I'm all about supporting small business, right? But I would say don't support TikTok Shop for the same reason why you shouldn't support Temu, right? I know it's tempting. I know the prices are dirt cheap, but all that shit is made of poison. And it just is. Like, there have been studies that have come out that have highlighted the fact that a lot of the stuff that's sold on Temu that is made of plastic really emits poison. It emits poisonous gas. You can absorb the poison into your hands from using it too much. Be careful. Be very careful. But also don't buy that shit, right? Because again, going back to overconsumption, whenever you see this stuff that is dirt cheap, it ends up being tempting to overconsume, right? I see it a lot with people who buy shit off Shein. I'm not going to make fun of nobody for having, 5 of the same dresses in 5 different colors. Because again, Virgo, that's some shit that I do, right? But don't buy it from Shein. Don't buy it from, that's why that shit falls apart so bad, so quickly after you wash it once or twice. It's all made of fucking paper, plastic, and poison. It's not meant to last. Be very, very careful. I need a spiritual community, but scared of betrayal or just drama from groups. I know, baby. I know. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been burned by that too. But that's a huge part of the reason why I'm so deeply committed to running a tight ship with my coven. If you are still, did you do our free Hoodoo mentorship, Tiffany? Because we have a free program. It's a 90-day program. We did it back at fall of last year, and we're going to be doing another round of it in March. If you're not ready and you want to test out and learn how to be in spiritual community, I would really encourage you to do our free mentorship program first. And then if you enjoy it, then you can discover or figure out about paid mentorship after that. I run a paid mentorship program. I'm not trying to, I don't want to say I'm not trying to recruit you. If you end up with me, that's dope and that's awesome. But even if you don't end up mentoring under me, I do think that our free mentorship program is good because it teaches people about how to learn and how to work in community with other people. It's virtual, but it still teaches you about community commitment and involvement. Tiffany, are you a part of the Sacred Roots Facebook group? Thank you, JL. JL said definitely do the Hoodoo mentorship. It was phenomenal. My godchildren did a beautiful job. They did a beautiful job with it. I didn't run it. And JL can attest to that. I did not run it. My baby structured it. They took the reins. They ran the whole thing. All I did was show up to a few classes and answer questions. I was deeply proud of them. They did their big one with that. And when they started back up in a couple of months, I really, really think that everyone should consider joining. If you are not already a part of the Sacred Roots Facebook group, click the link in the description to join, because once we start advertising, that as well as my Instagram and my Patreon are going to be the main places that we're advertising. Oh, my Patreon. I finally uploaded some videos and I want to thank people who are being patient. I got hit with a sudden illness last week. And then over the weekend, it led to a flare with something else. So again, be careful. There is neurovirus going around. So it did stunt my recording schedule. And then when I did start recording, my computer started giving me grief. So, but now the Earth and the Cup mid-month readings are up. The Fire and Air mid-month readings will be up by tomorrow morning. And the information about next week's Patreon exclusive class has already been posted. So next week on Tuesday, the 28th, I will be doing a class that is a Patreon exclusive where we talk about the spiritual burdens of pick-me's. We make fun of pick-me's in our culture, we do, but rather than making fun of them, I think it's important to learn from them in terms of why you don't engage in behaviors of self-betrayal in order to seek external validation. So we're going to talk about what a pick-me is. We're going to talk about the spiritual burdens they deal with. We're going to talk about some spiritual exercises you can engage in to make sure you're not engaging in pick-me behavior. And we're going to close out with a ritual you can do on your own. We're also going to talk about male pick-me's, because I don't like the fact when people hear pick-me, they automatically think of women. There are male pick-me's. They just show up in the world very differently. And we're going to talk about that and what it looks like. I was trying to find the group, but I found two groups with the same name. Two groups named Sacred Awakening. Tiffany, can you see the description box of this video? Because the link to my particular group, all you got to do is click that link and it'll take you right to the group. So look at the description box. If there is anyone still watching that is a part of the group, if she can't find it, if you wouldn't mind putting the link in the comments, that would be great. If no one else has any questions for me, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for the night. Again, thank you all for tuning in. If you have any suggestions for topics next week, please leave them in the comments or share them in the Facebook group if you're already joined. I will be back on Sunday for the weekly forecast reading. I will be taking free questions at that time. Please don't be a person that shows up all the time, gets free questions, and doesn't leave a love offering. I'm really trying to break y'all of that bad habit. Again, I've had to let some clients go this week for being takers and not respecting boundaries and not being reciprocal. So because that is a commitment that I have to myself as a priestess to keep my energy clean so that I can have the bandwidth to support the other people that do support me, I have to stop giving away so much free game. That's the only reason why I'm no longer doing free classes on here. Again, and another thing is what I talked about at the beginning, right? When I do these segments that are not just all readings, when I've done free classes on here, I have people show up and put in the comments over and over again, can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? I want a question. Can I get a question? Can I ask a question? Nothing more annoying than trying to teach and having somebody trying to beg you for free tarot. So again, that's why I'm doing things a little differently. But on Sunday, I will go back to free questions. Join if you can. I will be here Sunday, 7:30 p.m. EST. Love you all. Take care. Enjoy your Wednesday. And until next time, bye.